Welcome back, everyone. It is Eric from Rare Candy, and today I'm back bringing you guys some Paldea Evolved tabletop gameplay between, I think, a couple of the more hype new decks that we're getting in this brand new set. So over on the left, we have Corey Miesemer, a buddy of mine. He's going to be playing the brand new Chien-Pao EX. And over on the right, I'm going to be playing Ting-Lu EX. So it'll be interesting to see which of these decks comes out on top, because they definitely do have very different strategies from one another. You know, the Chien-Pao deck is based around taking these big one-hit KOs, whereas the Ting-Lu deck, it definitely hits for a much more modest amount of damage, but the trade-off is it has a bit of a disruption element by being able to sometimes turn off your opponent's abilities. So we'll have to see which of these is ultimately going to come out on top here. And if you guys do want to take a better look or a closer look at these lists that are being used today, I did do full deck profiles for both lists on the channel already, so I'll be sure to link those down below in the description if you want to check those out after this video. But I'm actually starting off with that Koraidon EX, which is actually a really important Pokemon on turn 1 of the game. Has that Dino Cry ability where I can accelerate 2 fighting energies out of the discard pile at the expense of ending my turn though. So this is going to be the main way I am going to be getting these Ting-Lus powered up. And there's going to be an Ultra Ball tossing away 2 fighting energy, which is perfect, exactly what I want to see with this deck. And I am going to grab Squawkabilly EX, which is another card I definitely want to find on turn 1, because its ability only lets you use it on turn 1. So you discard your hand and draw 6, kind of like the old Dedenne GX. And I found myself a manual attachment for turn, and that's, I think, really the only other thing I really wanted to see on this first turn. And I did find myself a Spirit Tomb as well, so that is going to shut off the abilities on basic Pokemon V. So if Corey does have a Luminion V in hand, he actually will not be able to use it. But here, just going to end my turn with a Dino Cry, and now my Ting-Lu is set up, ready to go. I just need to find myself a switching card to be able to start putting on some pressure against Corey here. But Corey's going to kick off his turn with an Irida, which is definitely, I think, his ideal turn 1 supporter, because he can grab a Water Pokemon and an item card, but of course he wants to find that Battle VIP pass on turn 1 to get his basics down. And it looks like that's what he's eyeing himself down. He's going to grab himself an Origin Palkia, as well as a Chien-Pao and a Frigibax. And I think it's really smart grabbing the Palkia here for this matchup too, because, you know, the Ting-Lu deck might be able to shut off that Baxcalibur from using its ability, and the Chien-Pao, every time it attacks, it's discarding energy. So if he can get Palkia set up instead, Palkia is just a much more stable attacker for the turns where he might not have access to his abilities with his Baxcalibur. So definitely a solid turn 1 so far, and going to use that Concealed Cards ability to draw 2 cards here. And it looks like he has a pretty good turn ready to go for next turn, but he's just going to pass over to me. And I'm pretty sure I wind up changing this, but I think I just kind of reflexively attached an energy for turn to this Ting-Lu. I already have 3 energy on it, so there's no real reason for the 4th. I think maybe I was just thinking, you know, I Dino Cried for 2 energy, so maybe in my head I was thinking, no, I still needed 1 more for some reason. Either way, this is something that does get changed, I'm pretty sure, midway through the turn, where I realized, oh wait, I already have 3 energy. This makes no sense. And if I remember correctly, I actually think on Corey's next turn, he did something like kind of similar too. So, you know, there's going to be some small little takebacks in this first game here. But you know what, guys? These games are just for fun. We're just testing here. We don't mind each other taking back little oversights like that if it means the games are going to be decent. So here, I'm going to grab a Hawlucha out of the prizes with that Hisuian Heavy Ball. Definitely could be a good card later in the game once I free up a bench spot. Yeah, and here you can see I realized, oh wait, it made no sense to actually attach the other Ting-Lu. But unfortunately, I could not find myself a switching card, so just gonna have to take another turn to use Dino Cry again. But Corey's turn is definitely looking pretty good. He's able to get the Rare Candy Baxcalibur combo off. And if I remember correctly, I think he forgets to play some cards here. Yeah, he almost got rid of the Skater's Park, and then I think I reminded him as well. He has a Superior Energy Retrieval. So he actually could have gotten that and attached to the Greninja, I think what we were saying. Yeah. So this is what I was talking about. Just a couple small little oversights. I think Corey was just excited to dump that hand with the research and get going there. But either way, going to continue on. It was definitely really big me whiffing the the turn 2 attack here, because now Corey's Baxcalibur is going to be free to use that ability, which is sort of the heart and soul of his deck, where he gets to accelerate any number of water energies from his hand. So we'll have to see what route Corey is ultimately going to go with this hand. So no doubt we're going to see a retreat here. And that water energy is actually going to come back to Corey's hand because he does have that Skaters Park Stadium in play. So instead of discarding it, it goes back to hand, which is actually really great because you can just throw it back down with your Baxcalibur. So we do have a Chien-Pao coming into the active, and he's going to activate it using that ability. So as long as it's in the active spot, you can grab 2 water energies out of deck. So he's just trying to thin his deck as much as possible here. And I think he might be trying to dig even for an Ultra Ball or a way to get Palkia VSTAR, because I think that he would much rather attack with that. But unfortunately, no Palkia in sight. But that being said, he still can get a KO here if he so desires. But here he's going to switch into another Chien-Pao, use that. And I think his thought process here is, well, you know what? More than likely my Baxcalibur is going to get turned off on the next turn with either a Hawlucha or the attack on Ting-Lu. So I just need to get as much energy into play as possible this turn before I lose my abilities potentially. Yeah, so he's just dumping every energy he possibly can here. Definitely makes sense. But here he's going to use the attack on Chien-Pao. You discard any number of your water energy in play and a 60 for each one you discarded. So discarding 4 energy here, that is going to be 240 damage, knocking out this Koraidon and taking the first prizes of the game here. So kicking things back over to my turn here, looks like I have a Hawlucha. Gonna get that down. Hawlucha, of course, you place 1 damage counter on 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And now I can start being annoying and start shutting off Corey's abilities. Because Ting-Lu EX, as long as it's in the active, your opponent's Pokemon with damage counters on them, excluding Pokemon EX, have no abilities. So no doubt this turn... Oh, looks like... Okay. I see what I was doing. Gonna burn the Nest Ball I had in hand before benching the Hawlucha. Okay. That makes sense. But yeah, so now I can turn off these Baxcaliburs as well as the Frigibax that is on the bench there, threatening to evolve as well. And then I can probably use the attack on Ting-Lu to set up some damage onto maybe Palkia or the Radiant Greninja to turn those off as well. Okay, so just going to do 150, and it looks like 20 onto the Radiant Greninja, okay? So, I think there's a world where that could have been a misplay on my part, just because with Palkia, if Corey can find it, it can actually do 260 damage, which, even though that's not a knockout on my active, Corey does have a Lost Vacuum in his deck, so there is a world where he could have gone like Palkia, Lost Vacuum, one-shot the Ting-Lu, and then just trade with my last one pretty efficiently to close out the game there. Or even if he didn't attack with Palkia, just using that VSTAR power to charge up another Chien-Pao attack puts him in such a good spot to win this game. So we'll see though. Corey does still need both of those pieces to pull this off, but looking at his hand, I don't actually see what, the pieces he might need to pull this whole play I'm talking about off, but let's see what he has here. First, he is going to search his deck with that ability on his Chien-Pao, just grabbing a little bit more water energy to thin his deck out, but honestly, when looking through his deck there, I don't think I saw the Origin Palkia VSTAR. And I don't think he has the Vacuum in his hand from what I could see either. So I might have actually gotten a little bit lucky this turn. But Corey's just going to discard the 2 energy, soften up this Ting-Lu. Looks like that's what he's thinking about. Because he knows this Chien-Pao is going to go down. So he's thinking, I should probably just burn the energy while I have it, just to soften this thing up for Palkia to come in and maybe knock out on the next turn. Because even if he doesn't have the VSTAR, if he attaches 1 more energy, he can actually still... Oh, he's... Okay, I think I see what Corey is going for here. So what Corey's going to do, he's going to do 240, which doesn't quite knock out Ting-Lu because of that Bravery Charm, giving it 50 more HP. But on the next turn, if he can use something like a Lost Vacuum to get rid of that Bravery Charm, it will actually knock out this Ting-Lu and allow him to get a knockout here. So in a way, this attack is kind of like a one-hit KO, but there's going to be the boss on the Origin Palkia. I kind of know that's going to be the big looming threat at this point, so I definitely just need to start pressuring that. Okay, it looks like I'm going to move 20 from the Radiant Greninja, or I guess looks like I'm removing 10 and moving it to the Chien-Pao with the ability on Radiant Alakazam over there. And not sure what else I really need at this point. Both Ting-Lus are powered up. I could try to get an attachment down somewhere else, but at this point, just going to soften up this Palkia, since that is sort of the big threat now. And suddenly, I think I'm in a pretty good spot. If I didn't have the boss's orders, and if Corey had the Palkia VSTAR in deck, I think things would be a little bit different, but unfortunately, that is not quite the case. But Corey is going to grab, it looks like a Lost Vacuum and a Lumineon V out of his deck there, so he'll probably actually even Lost Vacuum the Lumineon, since he can't really use it with Spirit Tomb. But either way, he will be able to get rid of that Bravery Charm and grab himself 2 prizes here. So, looks like he is going to opt to get rid of the Nest Ball, and he does technically need to send that to the Lost Zone. Yep. And that does allow him to get 2 prizes, and unfortunately, no Origin Palkia in sight, which is pretty unfortunate here. But I guess his Palkia V is going to go down either way, so might not be a huge deal. And looks like Corey's just going to get down an attachment on this fresh Chien-Pao over there. And, you know, he's gone down to 2 prizes. He's pretty far ahead, but without Palkia VSTAR and without his Baxcaliburs, it might be pretty tough to actually get this Chien-Pao powered up to take a big knockout. I think his path to victory at this point is going to be boss's orders on Squawkabilly to eventually close out the game, just because it only needs 3 energy discarded to be KO'd. And looking at my hand, it looks like I have a bunch of switching cards, but beyond that, not a whole lot going on. I think I see a Gatejaw Bog, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, it looks like I'm debating on an Ultra Ball here. Okay, getting rid of an Escape Rope and a Gatejaw Bog. Gonna grab another Ting-Lu. I know I need to start powering up another one. I do have, I think, a Fighting Energy as well as a Gutsy Pickaxe in hand, so this could be a big Gutsy Pickaxe. And it looks like I did hit a Fighting Energy with the Gutsy Pickaxe, so of course I can attach it to one of my bench Pokemon if it was revealed as the top card of my deck there. But here, just going to move some damage off of this Palkia with the Radiant Alakazam, since it's just going to get KO'd anyways. And I'm trying to start moving it over to this damaged Chien-Pao to eventually maybe take a double KO. Yeah, so I'm just going to go for the double KO here, since the attack on Ting-Lu does allow me to spread 2 damage counters to one of their bench Pokemon. And suddenly, I've caught up pretty quickly in this game. So at this point, Corey just needs a boss's orders. That's the big thing he's going to be looking for here. So he's just going to use that ability on the Chien-Pao, just trying to thin his deck if at all possible. He does have the boss's orders in deck, but it's going to be pretty tough to find, since he does have quite a few cards already sitting in his hand and sitting in his deck still. So he did have, I think, a couple Nest Ball. He could maybe opt to burn those and maybe try to just thin the deck a little bit more at this point. I think that's really all he needs to do. Just make... Oh, but he's going to opt to retreat the Chien-Pao. Okay. Okay, I think I see what Corey's thinking here. It's like, you know what? I need boss's orders no matter what at this point. And, you know, even though I just lost this energy that's on my Chien-Pao, I'm going to be able to just re-accelerate all of it as soon as I get boss anyway. So I guess it really doesn't matter losing the energy too much here. But yeah, Corey's just trying to thin his deck out here. He doesn't want to draw into Pokemon. He wants to make sure he can hit that boss's orders as soon as possible. And so I'd imagine we'll just see a pass from him at this point. But if he has any other Pokemon deck, he could Ultra Ball for him. Okay, it looks like he's going to grab. I think that is a Bidoof that he found in his deck there. So again, Corey just trying to maximize his odds of hitting this boss as his top deck on the next turn. But at this point, I'm feeling pretty good about the state of this game. I don't really need to do much over here. I do have an Iono where I could play it to refresh or reset Corey's hand down to 2, but that will just put him closer to a boss. So I probably don't want to actually do that. So it looks like with that Trekking Shoes, I am going to discard a Research and draw 1 more card. Going for an Ultra Ball here, just probably trying to thin more cards out of my deck. But yeah, I think I'm in a pretty good spot at this point. I don't think I need to do too much here. I just need to really just make sure that Corey doesn't hit boss. That's what this game is going to come down to at this point. So it looks like I am going to just knock this thing out. Oh, looks like I'm using Radiant Alakazam first. I imagine that's what's happening here. Definitely makes sense. So just going to knock out this Frigibax and set up some more damage counters on this Chien-Pao here. Okay, there's going to be Irida. So unfortunately, that is not a boss's orders. But he can at least thin one more card out of deck here. So there's going to be an escape rope. Unfortunately, though, since I do have another Ting-Lu in play, if he does play the escape rope, that one still has the same ability that turns off his abilities on his Pokemon with damage counters. So he needs a boss's order specifically at this point. But I think maybe Corey's just thinking, you know what, Eric didn't make an attachment on his last turn, so maybe I can buy some time with this Ting-Lu stuck in the active that only has 2 energy. But little does Corey know, I have an escape rope, and that's just going to be game at that point. So yeah, unfortunately, it looks like it would be quite a few turns before Corey found that boss's orders anyways. So despite Corey taking that pretty big lead there, he wasn't able to quite close out the game. I think the Palkia being prized was probably the biggest thing. If he ever just found the Palkia off the prizes, I think he would have been in a much better spot to eventually close that one out. But we are going to do a best of 3 series, guys, so Corey definitely has a chance to bring it back in potentially 2 more games here. So I think Corey, largely speaking, played correctly. You know, he tried to set up the Palkia and all that, but just couldn't quite get it out of his prize cards. But unfortunately, he is going to take a mulligan here. And I think he's just really hoping that my first turn is a little bit sluggish, because that's really the biggest thing with this Ting-Lu deck. Like if your first turn or 2 is slow and you can't get your energies in the discard pile and accelerated with the Koraidon, the deck feels pretty bad. It just feels like a bunch of really clunky cards on your field then. So if Corey can maybe have me have a little bit of a rougher start, that definitely could allow him enough turns to abuse his abilities and get set up for a better spot to close out this next game. So let's see if he can find himself a basic. Okay, and he does have the Chien-Pao EX, so he is going to be able to actually start this game. So let's see. No Battle VIP pass in sight, which is kind of unfortunate, but here he is going to thin a couple water energies out of his deck here with that ability on the Chien-Pao. And if nothing else, he can at least Ultra Ball for a Frigibax, or maybe even for a Radiant Greninja if he wants to try to draw some more cards this turn. So let's see what he's actually going to go back in and find. Okay, he has 2 Ultra Balls, so he could try to go for the Radiant Greninja and try to find things like Battle VIP Pass or more Pokemon that way. And if he still doesn't find what he wants, he can always go back in with his other Ultra Ball. Here he is going to get rid of Lost Vacuum, which I don't know how I feel about that, just because we saw how huge Lost Vacuum was in that last game. You know, for getting rid of those Bravery Charms, so Corey's not going to have that option at his disposal this game. But here he is going to get rid of a Water Energy to draw 2. And there it is. He drew like the perfect 2 cards off of that Concealed Cards ability. So he grabbed not only a Battle VIP Pass, but he also found himself a Nest Ball too. So here he's going to grab himself the Palkia, the Frigibax, and we might even see another Chien-Pao or another Frigibax potentially too. So let's see what he's going to opt to grab here. Okay, and it looks like he is going to go for the other Chien-Pao. So I think this is okay, but Frigibax might have actually been a little bit better here, because if I have a Hawlucha, I can turn off both of his energy accelerators. But if he has Palkia plus 2 Frigibax, unless I have 2 Hawluchas, Corey would still have 1 Pokemon guaranteed to be able to help him accelerate energy next turn. But from there, just going to pass over to me. So Corey's first turn, definitely pretty good. I'm going to play a Trekking Shoes. And it looks like I have a good bit of options here. I have the Hawlucha, so I'm going to be able to ping 2 damage counters on that Palkia and that Frigibax, so that's got to be super annoying for Corey. He really just wanted 1 turn where he could use his Baxcalibur or his Palkia, but unfortunately that is not going to be the case this game. But there's going to be an Ultra Ball. So I can grab myself a Koraidon EX to guarantee those 2 energies back out of the discard pile. And if I really want to, I can actually play this other Ultra Ball and grab myself that Squawkabilly EX to see another 6 cards. And here I definitely seem a little bit conflicted because if I judge, I might not be able to see as many cards as I would like on this turn. But if I grab the Squawkabilly, I'll have to lose a Ting-Lu, a Judge, and have another 2-prizer on the field. Okay, but instead I'm just going to go for the Judge here and say, you know what, if I still need the Squawkabilly, I can always Nest Ball for it. I can always Ultra Ball for it after the supporter, but I don't want to have it in play if I don't have to. So let's see what this Judge can find me. At the very least, I just want a manual attachment. I think that's the last big card I'd like to see. Spirit Tomb also could be good to take the Luminion option away from Corey. And I actually do have it at my disposal if I want. This is actually a pretty insane Judge here. So there's going to be, yeah, the Spirit Tomb coming down with the Nest Ball. And my start's so good, it honestly looks like I might not even need the Squawkabilly to get set up. Yeah, I have a supporter for next turn, so I don't think I actually need the bird at this point. So here, just going to use that Dino Cry ability to set up some more energy on this Ting-Lu. So now Corey's got to be feeling pretty frustrated because he basically won't ever get to use his abilities this game. Or at least not until he finds himself a boss's orders anyways. So here he's going to use that Chien-Pao to be able to grab some water energy out of deck. So if nothing else, this does at least help him thin his deck. Maybe it'll get him a little bit closer to finding a boss's orders. I think I saw a rare candy in his hand. Not sure if there's a Baxcalibur to go with it. Not that it matters too much currently since he can't use his abilities, but he probably still wants to evolve just for the turns where he finds boss though. So here he is going to use that Concealed Cards ability on Radiant Greninja just to draw 2. And I think he did draw into an Escape Rope, so he could consider even playing the Escape Rope. But he knows my deck plays, a pretty high count of Escape Ropes myself, so there is an option that he just gets hit with one back. But he is going to go for the Iridel. Let's see what he's going to grab with this, though. Okay, so he is going to go for the Baxcalibur. Makes sense. You still probably want to set this up, because there are going to be turns where you do eventually get to play boss's orders. But what is the item that he wants to grab at this point? It seems like very little actually helps him, conquer the current position that he's in. I think something like an Ultra Ball definitely could be an option as well. Maybe just to grab Origin Palkia, since that's probably his best attacker at this point in the game. Yeah, you can see Corey's just a little bit conflicted. It's like, man, what do I even do at this point? I mean, he could try to set up another Frigibax, but the issue with that is, on my next turn, whenever I attack with Ting-Lu, I can always put 2 damage counters on it and turn off its ability for whenever it evolves as well. And it looks like he is going to go for the Ultra Ball, so maybe he is going to grab the Palkia here. So there's going to be, looks like he's debating getting rid of a Frigibax and maybe the other Chien-Pao. That seems okay to me, I guess, because he's not going to need 3 Chien-Paos during this game. Yeah, and there's going to be the Palkia. He knows that's going to be sort of his best attacker in this matchup at this point, since he doesn't have access to his abilities. So he does have the Candy Baxcalibur, that's good. That'll at least prevent Frigibax from being picked off. And from there, I imagine we'll probably just see an attachment to Palkia before he passes. Because you don't really want to keep investing energy into this Chien-Pao when it's just going to go down. And yeah, I think this is good. And looks like Corey's just going to pass from there. So going on over to my turn, found myself a Nest Ball. So I imagine I'll get down Radiant Alakazam. That seems like a good Pokemon to occupy that final bench space. That way I have a little bit of flexibility over, where Corey's damage counters are going to be at any given point. And I'm pretty sure I have an Ayano in hand. That's going to be my supporter for turn. Yep. So of course, Ayano, new supporter card, both players shuffle their hands, put them at the bottom of their deck, kind of like the Marnie that is now rotated, but then they draw prizes equal to the amount of then they draw cards equal to the amount of prize cards that they have remaining here. So both of us are going to get a fresh hand of 6. And yeah, finding the Bravery Charm plus the attachment, big for this Ting-Lu. Gonna get down EXP share as well on the Koraidon, just in case I do need a big attack with that. And at this point, just gonna do 150 to this Chien-Pao and start softening up the rest of Corey's field here. And okay, I see what we're talking about here. Before I attack, gonna move the 1 damage counter from Palkia over to Ninja, and then do my 20 from my attack to the Palkia. Definitely makes sense. So let's see what Corey's going to do here. There's going to be Hisuian Heavy Ball. Not sure what basic Pokemon he might be looking for at this point. He does have a Manaphy in the prize card, so he can grab that with Hisuian Heavy Ball. Not that it's, you know, particularly good in this matchup, but let's see what he has in hand, though. Okay, we see Stadium. I think we actually see a Boss's Orders. If that's the case, that could actually be huge here. So there's going to be the ability on Chien-Pao. So yeah, Corey must be thinking about going for the Boss's Orders this turn. Because he can bring up the Koraidon, take a big KO on that, and then Palkia is going to be ready to just start putting on just a nice constant bit of pressure to this, or to these other Ting-Lus for the rest of the game. Okay, so Corey does have a few energy in discard pile, so he actually, if he does go for this boss play, he will be able to set up a ton of energy for future turns. Yeah, so there's going to be the boss play. Putting, looks like, an energy from hand, or yeah, he's got 2 energies in hand, and then he's going to use that VSTAR power. That way he can use Palkia to get those 3 energies from the discard onto his field as well. So I think what Corey does here, he just goes for a KO on the active, gets rid of all the energies on his active Chien-Pao. And yeah, this seems pretty decent. So you can see Corey's deck is pretty good when it has access to its abilities, but the Ting-Lu definitely makes it a little bit tough for him for sure. So there's going to be another Iono. Now that Corey took a couple prizes, he's only going to get 4 cards after this supporter. Okay, there's going to be a Trekking Shoes on my part. So there's going to be an Ultra Ball. I could opt to save it if I want to, but I could be thinking maybe saving it for another Hawlucha. Maybe that's my thought process. Yeah, it does appear that is the direction I'm going. And here, I probably want to use Alakazam's ability before I actually attack with this Ting-Lu. So it looks like I'm thinking about just starting to soften up this other Chien-Pao as well. Yeah, so I'm going to move a couple damage counters from the active to that one, then use the attack to put another 2 on it. So yeah, Corey's going to promote the Palkia. Definitely seems like his best Pokemon to promote here, since he can put on just a nice stable amount of pressure with it. So here's going to be a Nest Ball. Not really sure what Corey wants to get into play at this point. Fridgeback seems good, just in case, you know, he ever can set up another Baxcalibur. Or in case his current one goes down, being able to set up another Baxcalibur plus a boss play is still potentially something he might want to go for. So there's going to be an Iono of his own. So now it's his turn to reset my hand of 4. And I'm just not sure what else Corey really wants to see at this point. I think he just wants to make sure he can find himself Boss's Orders. That's really the most important card in this matchup at this point. So we're just doing some math, seeing how much the Palkia is hitting me for. Going to attach for turn. Okay, there's going to be a Hawlucha, targeting down a couple more of Corey's bench Pokemon. And yeah, even though this active Gapejaw Bog, or active Gapejaw Bog, this active Ting-Lu is probably going to go down, I think I'm still in a decent enough spot to potentially close out this game. Because after this Palkia goes down, I'm not feeling too scared because Chien-Pao needs a whopping, was it 5 energy? Yeah, 5 energy to knock out a Ting-Lu with a Bravery Charm. I know Corey's vacuum is gone too, so I'm feeling pretty safe in that regard. So I'm not sure if I have anything else I can really do here, other than just swing on this active Palkia. Actually, I should probably use Radiant Alakazam first, just because I can easily two-shot this thing already. So I may as well move that damage off there. So if possible, I think the play here is actually to move it over to the Chien-Pao, because after 2 more damage counters, it's perfectly within range of an attack from Ting-Lu to be able to knock it out. Yeah, that seems pretty good. And then I can just do 150 to the Palkia, set it up for a 2-shot. Okay, so let's see what Corey's going to do from there. At this point, he really just needs to buy enough turns to keep getting energies down to cobble together that last 2 prizes. Whether that's with Chien-Pao or even the Radiant Greninja could still allow him a way to win at this point. But there's going to be Lumineon, but I think he forgot that Spirit Tomb was in play. So yeah, unfortunately, Spirit Tomb is going to be pretty annoying by shutting off those abilities on Lumineon. So there's going to be an attachment. Again, kind of saw that coming. Corey just needs another 2 turns if at all possible, though. So there's going to be a Research tossing away that Lumineon and the Superior Energy Retrieval. That's a card we've actually seen surprisingly little of in these games. Okay, it looks like there's going to be a Super Rod. Let's see what Corey's going to opt to get back here. It looks like a Lumineon, which I don't think is really necessary here, unless he's thinking about knocking out Spirit Tomb at some point, which I don't know if I agree with. I think you almost just go for Chien-Pao instead, or maybe even just Water Energies at that point. So yeah, not crazy about that, but anyways. Looks like he is going to be able to take the KO, which is definitely good. And let's see what I have. I got a Hisuian Heavy Ball. I'm not sure how good that actually is. So I'm going to get the Koraidon EX out of the prize cards. Don't really need that. I think the only Pokemon I really want at this point is going to be maybe another Ting-Lu, just in case of an escape rope or something like that. And I think that's what I'm checking here. Like, does Corey have an escape rope left in his deck? If so, I think I definitely have to get myself down another Ting-Lu this game, even if I don't actually attack with it. Now, if I can get some extra energy on this thing, that'd be great, but I think I'm just going to need 1 Ting-Lu to close this thing out at this point. So let's see what I'm going to do from here. I do have Gutsy Pickaxe. Oh, I see. Burning, it looks like a Nest Ball before getting Ting-Lu down. Gutsy Pickaxe. Okay, got Trekking Shoes. So what am I thinking about doing here? Looks like a Judge. Okay. So just going to limit Corey's options here. I just want to make sure he can't find things like Boss's Orders. Because actually, you know what? If Corey does find Boss, he can actually use Radiant Greninja to finish off this game. So actually now I'm thinking about it, he actually probably should have attached that other energy he had last turn to his Radiant Greninja, because the Chien-Pao only needs 2 energy. The energy he discards can come from any Pokemon. So that actually might have been, honestly, a bit of a misplay here. So here it looks like I am getting rid of... Okay, it looks like I'm going to take a double KO on the Frigibax that was there. And at this point, Corey needs to make something happen. He does have Boss's Orders, but I'm not sure how much energy he has left in deck. And he doesn't have energy in hand. So I think there's a world where Corey actually might have just lost the game by not attaching to this Greninja, because he has Boss in hand, and if he were able to get 2 energy out of deck with this Chien-Pao, he actually could get the double KO with the Moonlight Shuriken on Radiant Greninja. So just it's like the smallest thing you can think of. It's like the smallest play. But just literally that one difference in attachment it seems like everything here. Let's see, what does he have in hand? There's going to be the boss. So if nothing else, he can at least throw up the Ting-Lu. Doesn't have energy on it, and just try to buy a few turns here. And not sure what we're discussing here, and looks like Corey's just going to pass, though. And so I do need to find a switching card. I don't think I've even played an Escape Rope this turn, so I should have at least one in deck. Yeah, I think I saw 2 in there, so thinning this Koraidon out of deck, have a Research in hand. So more than likely, I'm going to hit what I need this turn to seal this one up. Because if I can force Corey to switch to the bench, I can knock out anything he promotes at this point. There's Trekking Shoes, and that finds me the rope, so I can switch back into this Ting-Lu. And that is ultimately going to be the game here. So yeah, just that one energy, if he had just put that one energy on the Radiant Greninja, I think Corey actually probably would have had that game, as heartbreaking as that is. To Chien-Pao's credit, even with its abilities turned off for almost the entire game, it's still such a close matchup here, which I think still speaks to the overall strength of the Chien-Pao deck, even though the Ting-Lu deck ultimately did win here. But like I said, guys, if you do want to see the full deck list that were used in this video today, I did do full deck profiles on the channel already, so those will be linked down below in the description. But if you did enjoy today's content, as always, remember to leave a like on the video, or if you're feeling a little extra generous, you can always become a patron at patreon.com/rarecandytcg, or pick up some merch over at rarecandytcg.com. But as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.